All right, as I mentioned, historic hearing today, virtual hearing from the House Appropriations Committee, where for the first time in 40 years, there is an effort to force taxpayers to fund elective abortions. Here's another clip of today's hearing with the chair of the hearing, Congressman DeLauro.
Roe versus Wade is the law of the land, yet for too long, some women in this country have been denied their right to an abortion.
Joining me now to talk more about today's hearing, Dr. Andy Harris. He serves the 1st Congressional District of Maryland, and he is a member of the Appropriation Committee. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
It's good to be with you, Tony.
All right. So, I mean, no secret any longer that the Democrats want to repeal the Hyde Amendment, which has been an annual rider on the appropriations bill for the last 40 years that protects taxpayers from being forced to fund abortions. Are they going to succeed?
Well, I don't think so, but it is part of their radical agenda. There's no question about it. This would be, if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris become the president, vice president, would be the most progressive anti-life administration ever, probably even outdoing Barack Obama. But the bottom line is I don't think they're going to have the votes to do it because I think that we're going to win those races in Georgia, and I don't think anything's going to get past the Senate.
Was there any new revelations today in this hearing? I mean, we've known for a while that this was a priority, but did they say anything that was kind of revealing of the tactics that they're going to take?
Well, the most revealing thing is that apparently anybody who thinks that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used to pay for abortion is a racist, Tony. And look, I objected to it. I actually asked our witness, who is a black woman, doesn't she find it disconcerting doesn't she find it disconcerting that she is suggesting that she's a racist because she doesn't support Planned Parenthood or in fact opposes public funding of abortion? But that's the tactic. If you're a pro-lifer and you, God forbid, don't want to spend public taxpayer dollars on abortion, then by definition you're a racist.
Yeah, I watched your exchange there, and I thought that was very revealing because that's one of the things they often use almost on any issue to try to silence the opposition is call them racist. It was interesting, the chairwoman, Rosa DeLauro, as she talked about this issue of the Hyde Amendment, talking about it as a discriminatory policy. Roe v. Wade is the law of the land, yet for too long some women in this country have been denied their right to an abortion. How is it they're being denied their right to an abortion, Congressman, simply because other taxpayers are not forced to pay for it?
Well, again, that's not what this is just about. Again, a radical position, a radical pro-abortion position. It makes no sense whatsoever. Obviously, no one's denied a right to an abortion. I actually suggested that, maybe Planned Parenthood, with the money they made off selling fetal body parts, maybe they should have used that to pay for abortions for women who couldn't otherwise afford it. They actually are a C3 charity. So maybe they should be paying for abortions for women who can't afford them, not asking taxpayers to do it. A large percentage of which, a majority of which, believe that public funding really shouldn't go to pay for abortions.
When you look at this issue in your exchange with the witness that actually was the only pro-life witness there from the Christina Bennett from the Family Institute of Connecticut, she made reference to how Planned Parenthood actually is really the racist organization. What did she point out in her testimony?
Absolutely, Tony. And this is what's most striking. In fact, it's well known that Planned Parenthood was founded by Margaret Sanger for the specific purpose of decreasing the black population or decreasing the growth of the black population. So to somehow suggest that restricting abortions by Planned Parenthood is racist is just, it falls flat on its face. As she says, Planned Parenthood targets putting clinics in black neighborhoods. They target minorities actually for increasing number of abortions in those neighborhoods. If anything, the people who want to defund Planned Parenthood are supporting, again, black communities. In fact, one of the lowest blows was when one of their witnesses actually criticized crisis pregnancy centers and somehow suggested that they were evil in some way. But again, none of this makes any sense. And I do believe that common sense will prevail, that the pro-life position of not forcing the use of taxpayer dollars to fund abortions in the end will prevail.
Yeah, I think, as you made reference, Bennett, she actually said that about 80% of the clinics that provide abortions are located within Black and Latino communities. So clearly a targeting of those minority communities. And it's fascinating when you listen to the rhetoric of those on the left talking about, how removing the Hyde Amendment would be bad for women of color, and it's an anti-woman of color initiative, when in fact it's the exact opposite. Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry are targeting women of color.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And their policies, their other, and I put in quotes, reproductive health policies, actually make abortions more likely, not less likely. They make vast profits from doing abortions. This just makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. But Planned Parenthood, again, they're in the business of abortion. They want more federal dollars to flow into their coffers. That's what this is all about. This is about to get the federal taxpayer, to flood the coffers of Planned Parenthood.
As you pointed out, about maybe they take the profits that they've garnered from the selling of baby body parts. But if you look each year, Planned Parenthood turns, even though they're a nonprofit, they turn a profit. And we're talking about $1 billion organization. If they were so concerned about women, of color, that they say, not being able to get abortions, they could provide that service. Or they could take some of the political campaign contributions that they make and what they spend on elections. Maybe they could use that to direct it if they're so passionate about getting abortions to these women.
Oh, absolutely. And Tony, as you probably know, the head of Planned Parenthood, this nonprofit, is paid in salary and benefits about $1 million a year. If you're a nonprofit, you shouldn't be paying $1 million a year to your leadership when you could be spending that money instead of going to Congress and begging for federal dollars to pay for abortions. You should be using that if in fact, again, as you've mentioned before, if in fact people don't have access to abortions, but we know there's far too much access to abortions, and really, I find it very hard to believe. As I said in Maryland, this is a canard because every Medicaid patient who wants an abortion gets them in Maryland. Despite the Hyde Amendment, because of the huge mental health loophole that exists in a lot of states. So
Dr. Harris, final question here as we're almost out of time. We know it's not about access because you just addressed that issue. We know it's not about funding because Planned Parenthood's coffers are filled with money, and the left could easily do this if this was what they were passionate about. So what is this really about? What is this about in trying to force every taxpayer in America to be a part of abortion?
This is about an anti-family agenda that the liberal, progressive, socialist left wing of the Democrat Party is all about. It's an anti-family move. It's to somehow suggest that having children is a burden, and it was even brought out in today's testimony that somehow having a child is a burden no person should be expected to bear.
Yeah, it's kind of like the last vestige of defense of life in federal policy when it comes to spending, and they want to remove it. They want to eradicate any barrier to their leftist agenda. Dr. Andy Harris, thanks so much for joining us today. Great to be with you, and thanks for standing up for life on Capitol Hill.
Thank you, Tony.